Good morning and thanks for being with us. I'm Heather Abraham and happy Friday to all of you. It is the start of a really busy weekend in town. It's race weekend for the Dick's Sporting Goods Pittsburgh Marathon. Saturday is also the day of another big race, the Kentucky Derby, and it's Cinco de Mayo. Could you combine that into Cinco de Derby? Maybe. With so much happening this weekend, it's easy to start thinking ahead, but our first guest says it's important to focus on what's happening right now and stay in the moment. Dr. Barry Kerzin is personal physician to the Dalai Lama and renowned expert of mindfulness. He's in Pittsburgh meeting with UPMC nurses this week, teaching them the art of meditation to achieve mindfulness for overall well-being. He's both an American physician and a Buddhist monk, and we're glad to welcome Dr. Kerzin here with us this morning to explain how this practice can help us. First, though, we have to ask, how did you become the personal physician to the Dalai Lama?
I don't know.
There's an answer in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's not something that you don't have a certificate,
Right.
You don't have a card. Working in this culture with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, it's kind of something that happens, but slowly, and you're not sure sometimes. It's been developing since 1990. When he first called me in, he wanted to go to a conference in South America, an environmental conference, and heard that there was cholera. He said to me, should I go? So I said, well, yeah, you can go. There are things we can do to dramatically reduce your risk.
Yeah.
And finally, we gave him immunization and instructions. That was the first time in 1990.
And so your trip lasted much longer than you ever thought. You're still living in that region.
Yeah, I went over there in 1988 and then in 1989 with a 6-month visa to do some medical research. We extended the visa a few months and I've been there 29 years.
I know a lot in life is unexpected, but did you ever imagine that this would be your life?
Beyond my wildest dreams. Yeah. Had no idea I'd become a Buddhist monk.
I can't imagine that you ever would plan. I mean, some people probably do plan on that. But to be a physician in California, is that where you were from?
Yes, I trained at USC in medicine, did family medicine. I'm a family medicine doctor. Worked at the University of Washington in Seattle as an assistant professor in the School of Medicine. And I've always been interested in meditation. So that's been kind of the little thread, I think.
Yeah, so before you got into all this, before you became a monk, before you started working with the Dalai Lama, did you find, looking back, reflecting back, that you were missing something in your practice while you were in California?
Yes. I think even earlier than that. When I was a kid, maybe 6, 7, 8 years old, these questions kept coming up. Who am I? What am I doing here? They kept coming up. Mm-hmm. And so that, I think, was the first kind of little flag saying, looking for something a little deeper.
Right. And so what have you found in becoming a monk and practicing medicine and trying to find that balance and all of that?
Well, I'm still looking, It's a lifelong journey. I've done a lot of meditation, 3-year retreat, 1-year retreat, many shorter, several-month retreats. And doing that over years and study and reflection, you develop more presence, just naturally. Mm-hmm. You develop more joy. Your ego reduces. Doctors have big egos, right? And as a result, compassion goes up. And as a result of that, you find much more happiness and meaning in your life. So I'm on that road. I haven't found it all, of course, but I'm on that road.
You're on that road. I listened to a report from PBS, and you said when you were interviewed that the Dalai Lama told you, don't just do the wisdom, do the compassion. It should be 50-50. I'm
impressed. You've done your homework. That's great. Yeah, that's one of the first times I had a meeting with him. It was 1989, and I asked him, I said, Your Holiness, I'd like to do a retreat on the Buddhist wisdom called Shunyata. And he looked at me and he kind of, just like you have up there, he's pointing to me like this, stern face, and he says, wisdom and compassion 50-50. So he was telling me not just the wisdom, but go out to people and help people.
I was actually talking with one of my coworkers this morning about this. Somebody gets a phone call, test results are in, you need to see a specialist. Oh, but you have to wait 2 weeks before you get in.
Yeah.
Realizing the stress involved with something that's wrong with our bodies and dealing with that, is that what you plan to do when you talk with nurses here this week?
I think that's part of it, yes. Our whole program is around mindfulness, so recognizing what's happening inside in the present moment, what are my thoughts and my feelings, and then working with the harmful negative ones. Secondly, it's compassion, to recognize that when we're with, for example, an angry patient, they're in trouble. Try to not personalize it as much as we can. And thirdly, about resilience, to bounce back, because we all have difficult days and difficult experiences. So the real question is, how can we bounce back, maintain our sanity, and even maintain our balance and our joy? That's the general thing we'll be teaching. We'll talk about healthy self-confidence, where you don't put yourself down, you don't put the other people down. We'll talk about emotional hygiene, how to manage anger without suppressing it, jealousy and pride. We'll talk a little bit about meditation. That won't be a major feature, but it'll be included.
Emotional hygiene. I don't know that I've ever heard.
It's a new term. His Holiness the Dalai Lama has actually coined that in English. I also use it. It's from public health, hygiene, and it's about cleaning up your negative, harmful emotions.
I see. Well, let's talk about your book, No Fear, No Death. It was just released at the end of February.
This is it.
And I'm assuming that it kind of hits all of those same notes that you were just talking about.
It does, it does. It also includes a long section on death. And it's not meant to put people off and to be frightening. Some people say, oh, I don't want to go about death. It's not something that I want to look at. But this is a very healthy, positive way to kind of look at death and prepare for our own death. And it talks a lot about what happens during the death process. It talks about the channels and the chakras and the energies, all this stuff that we've heard these words, but we don't know what they mean. It also talks a lot about developing more love and compassion, talks about developing more of this wisdom, less attachment.
I see. I feel like I could talk with you all day. You have so much wisdom to share. Before we let you go, though, I'd love to know, are there some tips that you can give to us about if we want to meditate at home, how we can find that mindfulness on our own?
I teach this, and there are a lot of, if you just Google me, you'll find all kinds of videos out there that teach this. I have a Facebook page. It's a public figure page. It's in my name. And it's teaching. It's not about chatting. So a lot of this stuff is there. DalaiLama.com is a library of stuff. And I'd like to last words say that I'm invited here by UPMC Health Plan, and they're the people that have organized and invited me here now for 3 years.
That's great. We're happy to have you here. And yet we were talking about this before we started this segment. You were on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you're on all, and you said that that's important to make sure that you're reaching the younger generation in a positive way.
Exactly. I see myself as a 21st century monk. I try to be relevant to young people. You got to be, on social media to be relevant. Right. And so I try to use that in a very positive way.
Very good. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It was a pleasure to talk with you.